Les just had this ability to have such faith in the future and his ability to change things for the better in the future. And I suppose I share that optimism.
When I think of them, certain words that pop in my head is they're two passionate people, passionate about people themselves.
My memory got Les definitely how he used to come down every day to the basement, and we can hear him from miles away. He normally come down either from the staircase or from the staff room, and you could just hear him just saying hello, and we kind of like knew that he's coming.
It's funny because when you know Les, you take all of his little quirks, but Les would drive into the hotel driveway, he'd park his car, and then he'd walk into the hotel foyer and stand at the top of those stairs, and he'd look around and go, hello. People are like, who is this guy? Because they don't know who he is. And he goes, it's okay, I own the hotel. And then he'd just but it was the cutest thing ever. So whenever I think of Les, I think of him in the lobby, just randomly talking to people and just the look of bewilderment on their faces.
Les was already 67 years old when I met Les, and he'd had a successful career and done a lot of things. Yet here he was this guy that was starting a whole life again in hospitality, and here where we are in the Swanson Hotel, this was his next child, and he was going to make it work, and it kept him young.
Philip, Les and I would have lunch pretty much every day. Every single day we would have lunch with Les, and it was like, often my eyes would be rolling in the back of my head. We'd be arguing, he'd be on the phone.
In the hours that Les was here, I was always with him. We held hands together for hours every day, and it was fantastic.
Sandridge Bridge was the bridge that most migrants would have arrived, early migrants would have arrived in Melbourne. It came from Port Melbourne, it came up to the Yarra River and crossed at 45 degrees into Flinders Street Station. And so this for me was an important memory of how many people would have seen the city for the first time. Les said, what would be really good would be we reflected on all the cultures that Melbourne has. When you see families coming back and walking along and reflecting on the different cultures, that's, I think, what Les wanted to get out of the project, and he achieved it on Sandridge Bridge.
It's the first time that we're aware of, and even the City of Melbourne acknowledges this, that a living person has had a square or a street named after them. And just because of Les's contribution to the City of Melbourne, they decided while he was still alive to name this the Les Erdi Plaza. The formalised structure of giving is very new. While Eva was still alive, she had an ability to choose and make decisions, and in fact for us the biggest decision that she made and that we've made was the donation to the Alfred Hospital, which is a very, very large donation to the Emergency and Trauma Centre, and she felt that it was something that she wanted to support, but also she thought by this public large-scale giving that it would hopefully encourage other people to give as well.
And also, it was non-political, it was non-religious. It's a public hospital, so the largest single donation to a public hospital in the history.
One of the hardest things in philanthropy is that there are very few causes that aren't worthwhile, but unfortunately you can't support every cause.
Les was incredibly unstructured, and he was the most complicated, simple man I've ever met in my life. And only in the last 3 or 4 years after Les's death that those three pillars have really existed and some structure is put in place. Because Les was very macro, Eva was very micro. So Eva felt, with the guidance of the board and what Les's wishes were, that there needed to be some structure that put in place.
I have so much pride to be part of Erdi Group, to know that we were making money to help other people that were less fortunate was an amazing driving force for me. Keeping their legacy alive, but also we're helping so many people.
Les was very concerned about the environment and demonstrated that, and was concerned about the carbon pollution and wanted to do things both about water and carbon dioxide contaminating the world, and had this grand plan to plant trees throughout Australia.
1 billion trees.
Plants, billion trees.
1 billion trees, not just one, 1 billion.
He never stopped thinking. He never stopped thinking. He just, every day was a new idea, and you just wonder where they came from. But in the end, you know, some of them we made happen, some of them we didn't, but it was a fantastic journey.
I think he really valued what Eva thought of what he was doing. And in many ways, I think philanthropy is at its best when you're not doing it for recognition, but you're doing it because it's part of your family value. And I think that's what Les and Eva actually embodied.
He and for 68 and a quarter years, the two of them, I think were in their own way desperately in love, and were a genuine partnership.
When I talk about Les and Eva, it's a tough thing. It's very emotional for me even now, to try and quantify what they have meant and what they will always mean, and I don't think I'll ever do it justice, but for me they were life-changing, and hopefully we're all doing them proud now by maintaining this legacy.
One of the important aspects for me and for us is that as a business we support this charitable trust, and I think it's important to spread this message amongst our staff, to have them understand that their hard work, what they're doing, is then being used to support other people. That yes, we're a profitable and successful business, but the spoils of that business are going to charity.
And I think that it's up to Philip and I to kind of keep that dream alive, and also our long-serving staff. You know, we'll never forget Eva and Les, and the foundation is really set up never to forget Eva and Les.